We've all seen them. Those teams that outcompete all of their competitors. They just seem to always be on, always in sync, and always winning. How do we do that? We're going to talk about that today in this week's episode of Business Mastery. Our focus, as always, is startups, scale-ups, and early-stage businesses. And folks, this is one you don't want to miss. My name is Jerry Gadori. I'm the host of this program. Sometimes we do interviews, sometimes my talking head talks, and this is going to be one of those. So how do we set our team up for maximum success? Let's look at it in 3 stages: the beginning, the middle, and the end. If you were visualizing this as a sales funnel, the beginning of setting your team up for success is the attraction phase. In other words, how do I draw people to my team that are going to make it really, really succeed? And let's talk about that since it's the first and the open end of the funnel. How do we do that? First thing here is to ensure that we understand what type of person will thrive within our organization. We need to understand the dynamics of our team such that when we're building those job ads, when we're building our employer brand, we can put into the marketplace the type of material that will draw that type of candidate. So our first thing is to understand at a macro level our organization. At a micro level, we want to ask ourselves, what's the key job I'm hiring for? Who's the key person or type of person or job type that drives our company? Example, if you're a custom software development company, it's a software developer. If you're an accounting firm, do the math with me, it's an accountant. So whatever that person is, whatever that job type is, you have to ask yourself, what personality is going to thrive within my organization? And within that particular job type, what do I need for a person to be in order to thrive here? That's how we build out the attraction phase. And when we're putting material out, we have to make sure that it's attractive to that type of person. Now, this is marketing 101, folks, but remember this. If it's generally attractive to everybody, it's exciting to nobody. We want to really dig into those 2 pillars we just built. What about our company is different? What's it like to work here? And be speaking to that while taking that and boiling it down to the specific wants and needs of that particular type of employee and making sure the material is attractive to them. Bonus points if you can make it unattractive to people who wouldn't match that particular personality type. Why? Because excellent, truly great marketing attracts your ideal candidate or ideal prospect, and it repels people who would not thrive within your organization. So that's the open end of the funnel. Now that we've built that attraction, that magnet, that open end, we're pulling people in. The next thing is to make sure during the recruitment phase that they truly will thrive within our organization. What do I mean by that? Most recruiting efforts are, frankly, as someone who spent 30 years in the space, not exceptional. What do I mean by that? You have overly long, overly complicated interview processes that involve many people who frankly don't need to be a part of the process and are rarely well-trained or have the time. One or both of those 2 is too often in evidence to do this effectively. The people that are meeting with this new candidate that you're considering adding to your team in the second part of our equation need to understand that great interviews are conversations, not interrogations. If you've got a recruiter or a hiring manager or a senior team member talking to that person and they've got a bright light in their eyes, figuratively, and they're acting like a police detective, you're not setting this up to be a great interview. Why does it need to be conversational? Because we want that candidate talking about what they want as well. We want them empowered to make a good decision as to whether or not this opportunity makes sense for them, just like you're making sure that this candidate makes sense for you. I have put together literally thousands of hiring scenarios, both for my own companies and for client companies. And I will die on this hill when I say that there are far more bad matches than there are bad candidates and bad clients. And one of the best ways to avoid those bad matches is during the entire interview process, keep it conversational, encourage questions, and ensure that not only is that candidate a strong skill match, but they're also a cultural match. And here's the important part that's so often neglected, folks. Make sure that your opportunity is a logical next step for them. If that's the case, then this is more likely to be something that they're going to want to put their full effort into and build a home with. That's how you get beyond industry standard retention of candidates. That's how you get top performance. That's how you get synchronous teams that work well together. It's a skill match, it's a cultural match, and it's a mission values match. If you hit that trifecta, you're knocking the recruiting game out of the park, and you're doing something that most likely your competitors are not. The final piece is when that person joins your team, or if you're not hiring. And folks, this episode is just important to folks that aren't hiring now. If you're not hiring, we've got to look at your team itself, also called the retention portion of this equation. When you've got that team and, working within your company, couldn't get that out, but when you've got that team working with your company, you've got to give them the reasons. Said differently, you've got to incentivize the behavior you're looking for. Incentives can be financial, in some instances should be, but that's certainly not the whole thing. Understand this: the more a person feels heard and valued, the more that they like what they're doing and what the company is achieving in its mission, and the more that they're growing in their skills, the less likely they are to leave. Why? Because their needs and their wants are met. That doesn't mean they have to love every single thing that they do. A job is a job, and you're going to like parts of it more than you like others. But if those three components are met, heard and felt, fulfilled, and growing, you're incentivizing them to not only stay with you long term, but to perform at a high level, because losing this opportunity is meaningful for them. If this job is a commodity to them, something they feel they can replace very easily, then there's no reason for them to push hard there. That unfortunate reality creates mediocrity because there's no disinclination to leaving. If they feel like your job is one of 50, then there's 49 other opportunities if this one doesn't work out. If they truly feel heard and valued, their personal values are in alignment with yours, and they believe in your mission, and they're growing in their role, they are happy. They are unlikely to leave, and they're incentivized to excel. That's that whole magic piece there. When you're working with them, you have to ensure that you're hitting on those notes. On the growth part, let's take a minute talking about that. That growth part is critical. In any organization, there's going to be some level of turnover. In a healthy organization, the place where this equation breaks is when you don't have the next logical step for them when they're ready to take it. Now, that's going to happen sometimes. And when it does, you should gracefully allow that person to leave with open doors, great reference, and continued contact, because they've reached a natural ending in your organization. And if you do that well, not only is there a strong possibility they'll come back if you can provide them a next step in the future, but they will gleefully refer great candidates to you. They will speak well of you in the marketplace. And in some instances, they'll even introduce you to new clients. I've had that happen to me many, many times. So there's no reason to make that a negative end. But better than that positive ending is ensuring that you have a career for them. And part of the way that you do that, and part of the way that you make it real to them, is when you're going through your review process, which is a whole topic for another day, you want to ensure that you're not only talking about the KPIs and the metrics that you expect of them, but what commitments you've made to them and their development and how they're tracking in those. So for example, if I'm a senior desktop support person working in your organization and you know my goal is to become a systems administrator in the next 2 to 3 years, and we're tracking on the skills, the certifications, the education I need to ramp up to get there, if we're tracking that through employee review and it's a part of the conversation, in my mind, that's real. It's not pie in the sky. Why? Because we talk about it and we do the things to get there. It's a goal I can see myself approaching because we cover it consistently. So do you want to have a truly world-class team? I just gave you the formula. Put an employer brand in the marketplace that is geared specifically towards your ideal candidate, just like you would on the sales side with your ideal prospect. Number 2, make sure your recruiting effort is focused on them and is conversational in nature so that they have the opportunity to vet out your opportunity just like you're vetting out their skills. Make sure, again, it's a skill set match, a cultural match, and a career match. And then the final part, once you've got them in your organization, build an organization where your team feels heard and valued, their ideas are discussed and they're listened to and they're taken seriously. You're ensuring that their personal mission and values are in alignment with your teams and with your company so they feel fulfilled, and that they're growing their skills and ideally in their career and position as well. Engaged, fulfilled, and grown is a person that's incentivized to stay. You do those 3 things, and I'm here to tell you, your team will outstrip all of your competitors' teams. That, my friends, is how you build a truly world-class organization. Until next week, continue being awesome and continue building the types of companies that drive the world.